Which brings us to the crux of the topic today. I think that B2B has a reputation for being boring. People try to be as vanilla and try and please everybody and make sure they don't annoy anybody ever. And I think sometimes messages are lost and it's all very samey. Does B2B marketing have to be boring?
The so the obvious answer is no, it doesn't have to be boring. The simple answer is it's really difficult. So I think for me, one of the biggest challenges I think that B2B marketers face and B2B businesses face is not having a robust enough understanding of like multi-channel marketing and like not knowing that like your brand and your voice of your brand, which is essentially like your brand's identity in words and in tone, has to be fluid to some degree. And the fluidity of that comes from where you communicate and why you're communicating. And I think sometimes B2B businesses get really rigid because they presume that that dialogue has to be the same no matter where they're talking. So if they're talking to somebody on LinkedIn and they're talking to somebody on an email nurturing journey and they're talking to somebody in a brochure, the commentary has to be uniform, but it actually doesn't. That's half the problem. Like people don't go on LinkedIn or go on Instagram or TikTok and expect or want the same commentary as they would get on a landing page or a white paper. They're very different disciplines that have very different kind of focus points and different audience types. And I think having that understanding and the nuance of changing your tone and manipulating how you talk on different channels is how you can start being less boring without having to like dive into something that's really uncomfortable. Because I think inherently, whether it's B2B, B2C, whatever, we all find change uncomfortable. Change is scary. It's uncertain. B2B in particular gets very set in its ways of knowing this has worked before. Why the hell would I change it? What's the point of changing it? And it's also in the digital space, it's very hard to actually kind of show a tangible reason to change. Like, unless you've got like, I don't know, rock solid data that says if you talk in this particular way or you promote in this way, you will make more money, which probably doesn't exist. It's like really hard to get someone to do that. But I think it's perfectly capable of not being boring. I think it's just a case of having an understanding of where you're talking and who you're talking to, and having a degree of confidence to take that leap of faith that if you're going to use a specific channel to have to have the intuitiveness to kind of tweak how you speak on that channel and see like A/B test, try stuff out. You know, I've done many things in my time that have not worked, like, and it's fine. Like, who cares? And I think just having that confidence to just try something different and take a new approach and adapt how you communicate depending upon where you're communicating is a great way to start being less boring.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And I'd add 2 points to it. Number one is I think B2B companies often think that they're speaking to other companies. They're not. They're speaking to people within the companies and they need to write accordingly. For lots of people, especially when they're getting started, I think they tend to try and sound too smart. They try and sound too formal. They use words they don't use in everyday language and they sound like they're stuck in the 1800s. And the problem is that that has a knock on effect to making the brand sound really old too. So that's one problem. The other is in marketing, well, people are always looking to solve their own problems. So in B2B, the product or service has to either solve the problem or get the person promoted. Whereas I think companies are so keen on showing how brilliant they are. They have this bravado. They're like, we've been around this number of years. We have this number of clients. We've done this. We've done that. The client doesn't actually care. All they're interested in is what problem you're going to solve for them and how you do that. Beyond that, they want to know that you do what you'll say you're going to do and that you're good at it. So I do think there's that disconnect there. And as I say, it's because it's not really thinking on behalf of the customer. It's more thinking about what we want to tell them rather than what they want to hear.